Hey, welcome to Jason Unleashed. How's it going, you guys? Good to see you. I'm your host, Jason Carter. Thank you so much for watching and joining me today. And I hope you had a great weekend, long Memorial Day weekend. Hope everyone is safe and healthy and had a relaxing time. I am excited for today's show because I have someone who I respect and just truly admire. He is Rob Markman. He is a journalist. Now he is the VP of Content Strategy for Genius, which is an authority on hip hop culture, music, fashion, you name it. Genius has it covered. He's going to be on the show in just a few. Awesome guy. One of the most sought after journalists in hip hop. Has worked for everyone from The Source to VIBE, MTV News, XXL. You name it, he has lent his talents to those publications. So he's going to be on in just a couple. You guys know the drill. If you have any comments or questions, hit me below. Hey, Marissa, I got your email. I'm going to hit you back in a few. And guys, thank you for watching. Rob should be sending the request. I'm super chill today for some reason. I couldn't figure out what to wear, so I thought I'd, just come at you guys with the t-shirt. But nonetheless, let's bring Rob into the show. Rob. I gotta hit you with that connection dance. Rob!
Yo, what's good, Jay? What's going on?
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I can't complain. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Thanks for joining Jason Unleashed. How was your holiday weekend?
It was good. It was, relaxing. Wasn't much to do. Still, stayed inside. Still socially quarantined. I got to the park. I jogged a little bit. Worked on some music. But just relaxed. Everything was good.
Yeah, how it's my Corona brain, Rob. How have you been holding up in quarantine?
Just doing my part, man. Like it's a serious thing. It's a real thing. I know a lot of people across the country don't believe that it's real, and then, I'm here in New York and I could tell you we're going through it, man. I've had family members who have suffered from it. I've had friends who have suffered and recovered. I've known people who have died from it. So, it's very real. So, just doing my part and blessed to, still be able to work from home. It's a little bit different, and we got to do things a little bit differently, but I'm blessed to still have the opportunities and just trying to stay healthy and keep everybody around me healthy too.
Well, we're glad you and your family are safe and healthy. We know that New York City was like the epicenter of COVID-19 after Washington. So I'm glad that things are on the up and up for you guys there. Rob, it's been, I've been looking forward to chatting with you. I'm a huge fan. As you know, I'm constantly tweeting at Genius and tweeting at you. I think the work you guys are doing is incredible. I want to talk about your career because, like I said, you're one of the most sought after hip hop journalists in the game, right? And now you're at a place that has positioned itself as immovable in hip hop culture. Let's go back to the beginning. You've been in the game 15 years now, over 15 years now, yeah?
Yeah, I got my first freelance assignment in 2004. So I start from then.
Right. So when did you get infected with the hip hop bug? Everyone has a story of when they came to love hip hop or when hip hop, became like such an indelible part of their life. But for you, when was that?
There wasn't a time when hip hop wasn't around in my life. Like, if I'm being honest, like, growing up in New York and then, I'm an 80s baby. So growing up in the 80s, it was really just the boom. And when hip hop was still in the street, you could see it on the trains with graffiti. You could hear it coming out of the parks and coming out of the cars. We still had block parties and park jams. So there wasn't a time when hip hop just wasn't around. I guess my first real memory though, or I just remember Slick Rick. Slick Rick was probably my first favorite rapper ever. And just being in the schoolyard, my friends reciting the words to Lottie Dottie, and we probably shouldn't have been singing that song, but we sung that song.
Right. I mean, back in the day, as 90s kids, right, music was a moment. Music was an event. Street teams, we didn't have the avenues to consume music the way we did back in the day. So you really had to be present in an album release, in an album drop, music videos, award shows, the mixtapes, the remixes, all of that was part of the culture, and it was so important to the culture. Looking at hip hop now, Rob, what shocks you the most? Because you've seen it in so many iterations. You've talked to so many luminaries from Jay-Z to Jadakiss. What shocks you the most about music and the state of hip hop now?
I guess it's that famous big line. Who would ever thought that hip hop would take it this far? You know, that probably shocks me the most to see Obama, you know, when he was in the White House and even when post presidency, right? He still like releases his summer playlist, right? And you see how much hip hop is represented in there, or you know, to be able to see. Yeah, I remember as a kid, I remember like Eazy-E going to the White House to interview, not to interview, it was some dinner with Reagan or something during the Reagan administration, but you know, just to see the access that hip hop has now was amazing. To see that we have billionaires like Jay-Z, and you see the business that Beyonce gets to do, or the business that Dr. Dre gets to do. I mean, that started from hip hop. So, you know, you look at it and you're just like amazed. Like, we knew like hip hop was our world. It was everything in our world. And to see it actually become the biggest driving cultural force in the world, in everybody's world, is kind of amazing to me.
What was it? First time in 20 years that hip hop was dominating the charts, was number one in the charts and outselling country music, outselling rock and roll music. I mean, that says something. You mentioned that in 2004 was your first freelance gig. I mean, you've worked and written for everyone from VIBE, the Freshman Covers, Double XL, The Source. These are like Bibles of hip hop. Writing for those publications, some of your most fond memories.
I always loved being at Double XL and being a part of the Freshman Cover. That was always cool because it really felt like what we were doing during that time was going to have a lasting impression on the fans and the readers and the culture of hip hop and artists. And you know, I do think we help. You know, I have this feeling that, I mean, art, you're destined to be who you are, and if you're destined for that greatness and that stardom, there's nothing that's going to stop you. It's just things helping along the way. And I was glad to be a part of something that helped artists along their way. So some of the greats, like J. Cole has been on that cover, Kendrick has been on that cover, Wiz Khalifa has been on that cover, the late great Nipsey Hussle has been on that cover. You know, we can go on and on. So Mac Miller, who I love dearly. So, you know, just being a part of those moments were really cool. And you know, and this Genius moment now, I'm not going to lie, like, you know, I'm about to be 5 years at Genius, and it feels like the beginning again for me. I just feel that excitement that I felt the first part of my career with the things that we're able to do at Genius and with the team that we have there.
Well, let's talk about Genius because, as I said, Genius has positioned itself, rightfully so, as just an authority on hip hop culture, music, fashion, it's everything. I mean, it's a one-stop shop from your own interview segments to Verify to just you guys on Fuse now. How I mean, which is amazing, awesome content. How was Genius able to accomplish that in a time where we have thousands of places where we can get that content from? What makes Genius stand out?
Internally, what it is the, you know, the part that maybe, I know everybody sees me a lot representing Genius, but it's the team that we have internally. I've never worked on a team, and no disrespect to any teams that I've worked on. This is just the truth. I've never worked on a team that was so passionate that everybody in their position and their section of the company just really try to be the best that they can. I mean, you know, you look at Verified, we put out one of those every single day. Like, it's a daily show.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen without passion and people just going for it. Like from booking the right artists to preparing for the interviews to editing them and getting them up and socializing them. Like it's really a team that works in lockstep. And, you know, so I think really that it's the engine that drives it, right? And it's the conversation, it's the passion about music. If I'm being honest, as big as music has gotten, I think media in general in several years has gotten away from music. Like the artists drive everything, but we're not having the music conversation.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
We'll talk to the artist about everything but the music. And the we, I'm talking about the collective we. And I think what Genius offers is a space to come to where you could talk about your music. And especially in 2015 when I got there, that was the landscape. I think a lot of people were going, and a lot of hip hop publications were going with the TMZ model of covering hip hop and music in general. And what we did was like, let's cover the music for the music's sake. And that was 2015, and here we are 5 years later, you know, still doing it. And the great thing I see is I see a lot of other publications changing the tone of their conversation as well. So that's the best part too. It's kind of like our success, but I also see the conversation changing in with our neighbors as well.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I would agree. Because, you know, when I watch, and I go back to, and everyone watching, listen, I have to let you know that Rob did an amazing interview with Mariah Carey in November of 2018. I know, Rob, I know. I will let this go, but not yet, okay?
Nah, it's love.
And what was so compelling about this interview was exactly what you just said, Rob, how you focused on the music. And I always tell people when they ask me, you know, about artists and again, the salacious and the headlines, the TMZ headlines that these artists sometimes get roped into, I say get back to basics. Give us the reason why we loved you in the first place, and that's that gift of music. And in this interview with Mariah, it was, I mean, the way you jettisoned all the diva of Mariah and talked about the songwriting and the things. And I've never seen her turn on and be so present in an interview than in that interview with you guys. So I would agree that getting back to the basics is what has made Genius such a, again, an authority on that, because I think people still want that, but we're proselytizing to believing, oh, we want the drama, we want the beefs, and it's really we don't, because we didn't come to love these people because of the beefs, right? We came to love them because of the gifts of music.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. And you know, I don't go like evangelizing like we need one thing over the other. Like there's a time and a place for, like, sometimes you just want the entertainment. Just give me the tea. Like,
Right.
I get it. Like that has its space for real. But I think when everybody was following that model, it just became redundant, and every site you walked into was having the same exact conversation. And it was like, that conversation isn't as important to me as the music conversation. But yeah, that Mariah interview was great for me. That was the first interview ever that my mother came. Like, we did it with a live studio audience, and I do a lot of those with a live audience, and that was the first
Love
one.
it.
That's the one that my mother came to, and that was cool for me personally. And it was great to just have Mariah compliment us on the interview that we did. She was like, yo, I've never been asked these questions. This is one of the best interviews I ever did. And it was bittersweet. I was like, amazing. I'm glad that we could do that for her. And it was like, what a shame for an icon like her not to have this experience sooner. But I'm glad that, you know, our team was the one that was able to give it to her. You know what I mean?
Well, 100%. No, I was at ET at the time, and me and my producers, when I stumbled upon it, because Mariah had to release Caution that week, and I mean, the email I sent out was like, "You guys need to watch this interview. This dude's incredible. What they're, I mean, it was the perfect interview. So thank you for that. Also, everyone in the comments, Rob, down below, they're celebrating you, saying that Genius wouldn't be Genius without the genius of Rob Markman. I
That's
agree.
funny. Nah, man, I appreciate that, man. But I'll be lying to you if I told you. You see the output. You see what comes out. There's no one person that does that all alone. Like, man, I'm really a part of a great team. Like, and I say that, like, in all honesty, man. We really have each other's back. You know what I mean?
Rob, yeah, Robbie, you are of course a journalist, but what a lot of people don't know is that you're also an artist yourself. I mean, 2017, you released an EP, Right to Dream, dropped a new track, Don't Beg, Don't Borrow, here in 2020. Let's talk about your music, because I mean, people need to wake up and realize that Rob Markman can spit bars.
Yeah, you know, that's just for me, man. Like, I do it for me. Like, I love doing it. It's therapeutic in a lot of ways. It was always a dream of mine to be an artist. And for so long, either different people in my life told me I couldn't do it. And, you know, there's times in my life when I believe them and I let people talk me out of it. And, you know, I've experienced my own self-doubt. And then I just got to a place where it was like, man, I just want to do it. I've accomplished so much, and I'm so happy with the things I've been able to do in my career. And let me put this music out. And the great thing about it is I don't feel the pressure to, because I have Genius and you know, I have my career solidified. Luckily, I don't need it to put food on the table. So I don't have to do the things that I'm uncomfortable doing. I don't have to necessarily follow trends that don't feel true to me. And a lot of artists are faced with this. Like, and I can kind of just make the music that I want to make. And at the end of the day, the people who gravitate towards it, I love them. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't have to. There's no big machine behind it. When you see me release a record, it's really just me. Or, you know, you'll see the producer I credited, or if I have a featured artist, you know, I'm good at crediting the people who will help me do it. But a lot of times when you see it, it's just me. So the love means that much more because it's not like marketed to you in a certain way or whatever. Like people just gravitate to music because they relate in some type of way.
It's organic. It's an organic experience. You're not, you know, there's passion. I think that some of the most successful projects that have the most successful outcomes are the ones that are rooted in passion and are just doing it because you love it, not because you're trying. Not there's an ulterior motive. But
Yeah.
we got the single earlier this year. Are we going to get a full length album later this year?
Yeah. You know, it's funny. There's definitely an album in the works. Like it's almost done, and I'm just figuring out when to release it. Timing for me is everything. So I dropped "Don't Beg, Don't Borrow," and ever since then, on the 1st and 15th of every month, I've been dropping a new song. So I've been feeling really free in this place where I treat my singles like albums. Like it's one individual thought I presented to you, and we share that, and then I move on, and it's all leading up to something. But and there's an album in the works, but right now I'm really focused on this 1st and 15th that I'm doing. 1st and 15th of every month, I drop a new song.
Love that, love that. So on next Monday we're getting a new song, and then the
Yes.
15th of June. Awesome. Can't
Yeah.
wait for that, Rob. You have conquered written word, rap. You're this mogul, and you're also an illustrator. I mean, it's just like it's a laundry list.
Right.
Marvel Voices comics.
Yeah.
Have you always been a comic book fan? I was a comic book fan growing up. You know, X Factor is. We can talk extensively about Marvel, but with this, tell us about that experience. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I meant to send it to you too. I forgot, man. My bad. Yeah, I wrote. I wasn't the illustrator on it, but in February, Marvel had put out a book called Marvel Voices, which was an anthology where they collected a bunch of stories from a bunch of freelance artists that they chose and writers. So they hit me up and said that I want to write a story in this anthology. And they gave me 2 pages to write. So, you know, it's a small thing, but it was like, you can pick any character you want in the Marvel Universe and you can write this story. Are you down? And so, hell yeah, I was down. I picked the Silver Surfer. Yeah, man, big Silver Surfer fan. I picked the Silver Surfer. And, you know, I was proud. I was able to kind of tell this story that paid homage to the Marvel Universe. And in it, you know, not to give too much away, but in it, you see Silver Surfer reminiscing on the greatest battles that he's fought, right? So you see him and Galactus fighting, and he's like, man, I saved Earth so many times. And you see him and Mephisto, and then there's a scene that Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity War and stuff like that. So we have all those scenes, and the Silver Surfer reminiscing on that. And then he kind of just goes back, and he was like, man, I saved Earth so many times, but I couldn't save Earth from itself. And then in the last scene, you see us polluting the ocean. So it's just like, man, you can fight all these cosmic beings and these aliens, and at the end of the day, we're really killing the planet ourselves.
That's cool. That's cool. You're super proud of that. That's pretty cool.
Because I got to in 2 pages. I'm like, yo, I got to get it off. Plus, I feel like I said something that meant something that was dear to me. Like the one thing, like climate change scares the hell out of me. Like it's certain things. It's like I feel like we can conquer anything, but the planet, like, you know what I'm saying? There's some of the things we see on the planet, even this coronavirus, you know, it takes a lot of work, man, for us to work together to kind of save this planet, you know, and save ourselves. And so not to get too preachy, but that was the story that I told, and I was super excited about that. And, you know, the comic book industry now is kind of in a tizzy like so many other industries. I have a graphic novel that was supposed to be coming this year, but now that's TBD, so we'll see.
A graphic novel?
Yeah. I've been working.
Where do you look? You're a husband. You're a dad. Where do you find the time to write a graphic novel?
I was working on it for a long time last year. A lot of the work that you see coming out this year was product of the effort that I put in last year. But you just find time for what you want. Like, I have this saying that I say it's too late at the wake. When we're all gonna go one day, not to be morbid, but we're all gonna pass one day, and so you got to do the most with your life while you're here. It's too late at the wake. When you're laying in that casket,
Right.
those dreams go with you. You know what I mean? So it's like anything that I dreamed of, let's do it. And I've been a comic book head since my first job ever was in a comic book store. So,
Are imitating life there, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's like my inspirational cup has been filled for the week. Thanks for sharing that story, Rob. It's
Go
awesome.
get it. Yeah.
I mean, you have talked to so many major players in the game, and interviewing people and connecting with those people, it's hard because sometimes they don't give the most. They're not very giving of their stories. Tell us of a time when you were of an interview that was so transformative for you, because you always have that one where you think like, damn, that was me in this intimate setting with this person, and I connected with them on this level, and I'll never be the same.
Oh, I thought you were gonna ask me about the bad ones.
or the bad. Hey, look, the bad ones could be transformative too.
There are those too. I mean, I think everybody who's followed my career took a real turning point in 2015 when I interviewed Kendrick Lamar on the heels of To Pimp a Butterfly, and just because he and I, it was like cameras were in the room, but it was a real conversation. It wasn't like an agenda. There wasn't anything that I was trying to get out of him. I don't necessarily know. Obviously, he was promoting his album, but it wasn't like one specific thing he was trying to get across or trying to show to the camera or whatever. And that interview, one for me, but more so the feedback I got from people about what it's done to them and how that conversation has inspired them, I think means the most. I've had people hit me up from all over the world telling me what that interview meant from them, places I've never been in my life. And God willing, I'll be able to make it to that. Kendrick Lamar interview is one. The Mariah interview is one. The Mariah interview was like, the Mariah interview that I did with Genius is one of those things that go to show you. I remember where I first was when I first heard Mariah. My mother brought those records home. I remember where I was when she dropped the Honey video, and I had and I had the big crush in the world. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, oh, I love this woman. To the point where I'm sitting on stage with her and with the respect for her music, and then she has the mutual respect for me as a journalist and an interviewer in my craft, and that was one of those moments where it was like, wow, you could really, the things that maybe seem so far-fetched at one point, you could really build towards it and make it happen.
Right. And we're seeing that. I mean, I'm seeing that daily, talking to people like you who I'm fans of, connecting via social media now because of Corona. And just to piggyback off of that, because it's like taking a risk, right? Or making the decision to move in a direction, because you've pivoted a lot in your career to arrive at where you're at now, and you took a lot of risk, and you had to say yes to things because you knew the bigger picture, there'd be a payoff and it would be successful in the long run. So I mean, you're totally right about that. You never know where you're going to end up. Rob, we're approaching Pride season now, and a conversation that the LGBTQ plus community has, along with many other things, is representation in hip hop. Because in the past, we've seen, a lot of homophobic, misogynistic, anti-LGBT rhetoric and lyrics. Why do you think that still exists in hip hop? And do you think that we're making the right strides to eradicate that in some way?
Why? I guess the first question, why does it still exist in hip hop? I think it still stems from a lack of education on it, and maybe it's not for me to answer. I think we are making strides, right? I think there's movement going in the right direction, in terms of inclusion, being careful what we say, being careful how we message, not being hurtful, not being harmful. I guess the real question is that happening fast enough?
Yeah.
But I do see it happening. I do see attitudes changing. I grew up again in the 80s and 90s, and there was a lot of rhetoric and stuff said on record from some of your favorite artists. And I don't think inherently hip hop is a hateful art form, right? I think it comes from ignorance and not knowing who you're hurting, thinking that you could let a slur fly or the F word fly or this or that, and who's it gonna hurt? Until you actually see who's it hurting, and you actually see the what members of the LGBTQ plus community have to go through, right? And it's like, me adding this into the world doesn't help their cause, doesn't help lift, them up as humans, and really reflecting like, we don't have a problem with the community. Yeah, we need to be more inclusive and we need to check ourselves. So, I think it comes a lot from the culture still having to learn and still having to check themselves.
Right. And
yeah.
And when you're seeing that, what's that song from 444 Smile, right? About Jay-Z's mom? I mean, that was a cultural moment that people talked about for a long time, because here you have a god in hip hop being so open, so vulnerable about his mom and about her struggles. And you couldn't deny, regardless of if you are LGBTQ plus or not, you couldn't deny the truth that was weaved through that song. So I personally think that hip hop is definitely taking strides. Eminem, Elton John, all these moments in hip hop that have shown that. Just from someone like yourself who was steeped so deep in the tea of hip hop to hear. I just want to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to go further and be more loving and be more empathetic. Even the guy like Jay, Smile was a great song and a very personal song to him, right? But I've been a fan from Jay for a long time, and you can see that 444 album. You can see the evolution of where he first started and where he became, not just lyrically and as an artist and not just his bank account, but mentally, how he grew as his world got bigger. And I think he started to understand the world around him better, that the world around him just wasn't Marcy Projects. And so I think moments like those are important. I think Tyler, the Creator, important artist. You see what he did last year with Igor. And I don't think that album or Tyler's music is defined by sexuality. Nobody's tripping. It's just like Tyler is fucking dope and one of the biggest creative forces that we have. It was the same thing. I remember I was at MTV when Frank Ocean wrote his famous Open Letter. And even at the time, he didn't really, the letter was just about an experience. Like, I think a lot of people categorize it as him coming out, and in a lot of ways it was. But at that moment, he was really just writing about an experience that he had. And I still think we didn't know what Frank was. Is he, gay? Is he bi? Like, we didn't know how he saw himself and just taking that moment, right? And I remember everybody being kind of surprised. But then the music comes out, and it's like nobody cares. Why? Because Frank Ocean, let me not diminish it. I don't want to say nobody cares, because there's hate out there, right? But also Frank Ocean is amazing.
Right.
I'm saying, like, what are your questions? And that's not to say that we got the problems fixed. But, I think we need to look at these moments and use those moments as a guide to get us to where we need to go.
Agreed. Lil Nas X, again, another moment last year that lent itself to a conversation of inclusivity and LGBTQ plus lifestyle in and out of the community, because here you have this kid. He's a kid, right? But he became this, I don't want to say beacon, but he became this just spearhead for a conversation of like, okay, why are we not getting back to what's important, and that is the music. So I just want, again, getting your perspective on that, because people shy away from having those conversations in hip hop, because in the past, hip hop has been seen as this alpha male, hyper masculine, just it has a very definitive identity, and that's it. And the conversations were misogyny, stop calling women bitches and hoes, but no one wanted to talk about that aspect of it. So I just want to get your standpoint on that. You are someone who consumes a lot of music, man, and people have slid into the DMs like, you have to ask Rob about his top five albums of all time. We know Nas Illmatic is your favorite, right?
Nah, actually not.
Yeah. No?
It's up there.
Okay. All right. So if Rob was put on a mountain for the rest of his life, and whoever put you there said you had these 5 albums that you can listen to, and that's it, what would they be?
Hip hop only, or
no? What I don't care. See, I don't do whatever you want. Any genre.
Good. Okay, good. I would go Biggie, Life After Death.
Boom.
I'm from Brooklyn, so that's my favorite rap album of all time. Wow, Mary J. Blige, My Life is up there for me.
Okay.
I'm gonna need Prince, Purple Rain is up there for me. That's 3. Um, Jay-Z's Blueprint. No, you know what? Yeah, give me Blueprint. So that's 4, right? And wow, this is tough. And I'll probably take Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. That's an eclectic accumulation there.
I just need a little variety. Look, I picked Biggie. Biggie is cheating because that was a double CD. So you get more music that way. You know what I'm saying? Mary J. Blige, My Life is just an incredible. I love that album.
Yo,
Can't go wrong
Rob,
with Rain, you know?
right, but see, Mary J. From What's the 411 in '92 to My Life in 1994, just that evolution and that growth from Mary was, I mean, incredible. The '90s, I always tell people this and they laugh at me because I reveal my age, but there will never be a time in music from 1988, I would say, to 2005, because '88 you had like the hardcore rap, P&E, NWA, you had all of that, right? 92, The Chronic, 93, Doggy Style, and then plus Bad Boy on the rise, 94, then from 94 through 2000, Unstoppable.
Right.
And Mary J. Blige, to me, a lot of people were posed to be the next Mary J. Keisha Cole, where you at? But right? Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. Seriously. But production and music back in the '90s, the Neptune sound. We can go on for days talking about music. But why do you think? Last question. I know you got to go.
No, it's all good. Come on.
Why do you think music hasn't been the same since? Because I'm gonna keep it real. I can't turn on the radio and nothing makes you want to dance anymore. Back in the day, you'd be in the club and a Diddy song comes on, you're out your seat. Who cares if you sample? It was just magical.
That's true. Two things. I got an answer to your question, but two things. I do think you're always fond of the era of music that you grew up in, no matter who you are. So that '90s era may mean more to me and to you because we were around then, as opposed to a kid who came up in the 2000s who may be like, oh, Mary J. Blige was great. But, Kehlani is my shit. You know what I'm saying? Or Janae Aiko or whoever they identify with. So I always say it's generational. But, you make this point about how come the music doesn't make you move as much. And, I think the technology, the shift of everything is streaming and everything is digital and everything is almost a singular experience as opposed to, we was out there in the clubs and the parties and so the music had to make you get up. You know what I mean? I don't know if the clubs are important anymore. I don't know if these generation is out in these streets, especially now with COVID, as much as we were. Like my mother couldn't keep me home when it was a party every weekend.
Every weekend.
In the Bronx and Queens or whatever. Like I was always at somebody's house party. And when I got old enough to go in the clubs, then I was in the clubs. So I think the music and it reflects also too. The real thing too is that the music is they always say the music is a reflection of the drugs that the artists take, not to get dark, but the drugs affect you different. The lean and the opioids and syrup slows everything down. So, and so there's validity to that too. It's definitely different than what it was when we were coming out.
Is there anything though? I agree with that. One, because like you said, your mom couldn't keep. I was lying to my mom saying, I'm going to a friend, man. We were in the club till 2 a.m. But it was just so, the music just felt good. Yeah. And there was, like I said, definitive sounds. There was, producer tags. The music video mattered. There was awesome hooks. It was just so much supported. There was countdown shows where music videos were an event. But is there anything in music right now, Rob, that you don't like, that you're not feeling, that you're like, nah, this isn't it?
Yeah. And there's a lot of things that I'm not feeling in music right now. I don't love the way we become slaves to this algorithm that we have. And it's the same. It was the same thing. Like people, if you wanted to get on radio back in the day, you made a song like how radio sounded. So you got into this space where everything sounded the same, and maybe people were trying to copy a Diddy to get on radio, right? And now I think it's just shifted to the streaming, and people are following these rules to fit a format to fit into the algorithm. So if you know the songs are shorter, like most songs are 2 verses now. Songs aren't even 3 verses. You got to keep it between a minute 30 and 2 minutes. Like, you know, you don't really get as much 3 minutes, 4 minute songs anymore. And then everything sounds the same because the algorithm, you know, your release radar on Spotify or something suggest songs based off of the previous thing you heard. So let me try to make a song that matches that previous thing you heard, so I could trick the algorithm to play my song next after it plays a Migos song. And you know, I think artists have to be smart about how they make music for sure if you want to be successful. But you know, it gets to a point then when you become like a slave to our algorithm. So it's like, man, is this really you, or is this just the computer talking? You know, we even getting into this world. I've been reading a lot, and I'm no conspiracy theorist, but the deep fakes scares the hell out of me. Like if you saw a couple of months ago, they made a fake Travis Scott song based off of AI. Of the words don't even make sense, but they mimicked his voice off of AI. And a month or 2 ago, they made a fake Jay-Z song. Like these deep fakes are scary to me. Like you don't even need an artist to make music anymore. Once they figure out how to perfect this thing, it could be over unless we as the fans and the audience demand more and demand something real.
Right, but the thing is that we're slaves to that too. People like you're very nuanced and aware of the science behind it, right? But everyday people just listen to it because it's a great song, and they're just like, I mean, this is cool, you know, like.
You know, and again, it's not that we didn't go through it as a kid. I remember the first time. This is a funny story. I remember the first time I ever heard Drew Hill. The first song Drew Hill ever dropped was "Tell Me."
Tell Me, yep.
The first single. I heard it on the radio. I thought it was Jodeci. They sounded just like Jodeci to me. I was like, yo, they bit Jodeci's whole style. And then obviously Drew Hill goes on to develop their own style and become great in their own right. But it started like that where I couldn't tell that Drew Hill song from a Jodeci song. And, you know, we're kind of into that now, but it's more computers. Like everybody's sounding the same and people are programming to sound the same. And that's scary to me. I'm a fan of individuality.
I am too. I think that's what was missing. That's what's missing now, and that's what we had in copious amounts back in the day was individuality, because we were able to see people's true artistry. And I wish artists would get back to that. This year at the Grammys, we saw women dominate. Her, Cardi, like all these great talented women in hip hop. Why are we not? I mean, Meg Thee Stallion's killing it right now.
Yeah, got the number 1 record in the country now, and Beyonce.
Number 1 record, Doja, Kehlani. These women, they're coming back. But why do you think it's taken so long for us to get the second coming of the rapstress? Because in the 90s we had Kim, Foxy, Bahamadia, Queen Latifah, Light, right? Then in the 2000s we really didn't have a lot. I mean, we didn't have a lot of female rappers or female hip hop artists. You know, Remy, Kim was still there, but none is near as popular as the women now. Why do you think that is?
You know, there was a time where a couple of years, not to diminish nobody else, but it was really Nicki. I think BET was like just giving awards to Nicki, not because she wasn't great and she didn't deserve it. There was just literally nobody else in the lane. And you know, I think it's a couple of things. I think one is on these record labels to invest in women, you know, and in a lot of ways too, that there is a bigger investment that comes with the woman artist. Like, you know, the glam, you know, if you're doing it on that level, that's what the glam takes more. You know what I'm saying? Like, because of what society expects from a woman, right, rather than a male. So I mean, there's some significant investments, and I think the labels just weren't willing to invest in it. And two, I think the fans, again, like the fans have to demand more and support more. And the other real thing is that hip hop is misogynistic. Like there's misogyny in hip hop. So all of those things fall like work against women's favor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's great to see that we're getting past that, and I love. And more so, and what I wanted, I also think for a couple of years, again, when Nicki was on top, everybody was trying to make the next Nicki and the Nicki clone. And I think, man, we're getting to this place where you see again women as individuals and not cut from the same mold. So a Lizzo, you know what I'm saying, could be as sexy as she want to be with her flute.
Right.
and her
Right.
accent. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, go
Yeah.
ahead. Like, hell yeah. Like, if that's how you, and it don't fit the mold, you
Right.
know, or Rhapsody could go and get Grammy nominated and feel comfortable and not feel like she has to overly sexualize herself. You know what I'm saying? If that's how you feel comfortable, fine. But it's like, I don't have to sexualize my music as a woman for me to get the accolades and the respect. And Rhapsody does that on her own terms. And now you're seeing Meg do that on her own terms. So, you know, I love not only that we're seeing the rise of women, but we're seeing the rise of individuality amongst women, and women aren't being forced into this box that is unrealistic. If that ain't you, don't let no label or nobody force you to be that.
And that's what these women are saying. And shout out to Max Day, I see there. He mentioned Cassie, Little Kim, Foxy, Missy. All those women absolutely have, for sure, left their mark on hip hop. It's just there was a time in music where you weren't seeing a lot of women hip hop artists at all. It was driven by the Drakes and it was very male dominated. The remix, I lived for a remix. All right. I mean, the remix, you couldn't, the remix was, as I said, an event on top of the event of the original song. Do you think the remix is going to make a return, or do you think the remix is something of the past?
It got to, man. I hope it makes a return. I mean, because it's a way to breathe new life into your song. I remember, did you watch, even though the sound was horrible, if you watched Jagged Edge verse 112 yesterday on Versus, um, Jagged Edge played Promise, the original, their song Promise, which is a great song. And then they played the remix, which is a totally different song. And
Right.
it was a joke. And 112 was like, hey, didn't you just play Promise? And Jagged Edge was like, nah, we played the original. This is the remix. The lyrics are different. The beat is different. Like, the tempo is different. What are your questions? And I think we need to get back to that, man. I would love to see it. I mean, just for artists today have to put out more content than ever. They have to put out more music than ever because the streaming services, the algorithm demands that, the fans demand it, right? So what better way than a remix? I don't have to totally do a new song, but I can kind of rebuild my song and represent it and repackage it in a different way. So I hope the remix is coming back.
I hope the remix. Look, Rob. I hope the remix comes back. I hope R&B boy bands come back. I hope girl groups come back because I think that's really what's missing. And that it's like this pie, right? You get all these pieces, and it's all yummy and delicious, right? And I think that's what music needs to get back to basics. And of course, look, the past is the past. Things evolve, things move forward. But there's some things about music that just should never, that are just here for good. And I think
Yeah.
those elements should return. Man, it has been so awesome talking to you. All right, so we'll find you on Genius, of course, every day. Content galore.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, we got
Like 3 videos a day, like 6 articles a day, countless tweets and Instagram content. Come to Genius, man. We got something for you.
and then we have the new music on the 1st and the 15th of every month. That's your own personal Rob Markman artist spitting bars. The 1st and the 15th dropping new singles every month.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this graphic novel that hopefully we're going to get post-COVID.
Yeah, we'll see. The comic book industry, like, I mean, they stopped printing comics. Like, Marvel just stopped printing comics for a while. And I think now they're getting back to it. And DC, all the major stopped printing comics. So I have something that's done. It's in the can. I actually got paid for it. I got my check. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And I hope that it comes out. But yeah, that opportunity that I got to write for Marvel earlier this year, I was really, really excited about that. And, you know, I just hope I get to continue that. But also, you know, I pray for that industry too, man. A lot of comic book writers and comic book artists are freelance, you know, and so they don't have the benefits of working the 9 to 5. So I have that security. So I don't want to take opportunities away from anybody. I would love the opportunity, but more so than anything, I hope the industry builds back up to be able to support those creatives as well.
100%. And Rob, we can also find Genius on Fuse and also Apple Music as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. We got Verified on Apple Music. We got Genius on Fuse. Is a weekly show every Wednesday night that I host. For the Record is a weekly show that I do on Genius or on the internet. I'm actually, right after this, I got to go interview Little Yachty for this week's episode. Yeah, I got new music coming out every 1st and 15th. Shout out to Steve Perriman in the comments, man. I see you, brother. I love your after show. I live for your Versus after shows, man. It's amazing. And Jason, man, thank you, man. you have no idea. When you said you was doing this and asked me to be a part of this, I support anything that you're doing. You're a great dude, a genuine soul. Your passion for music and just your passion for people is commendable, man. And you've always supported me, man. And so I support you right back, man. Anything you need, I'm here.
I appreciate that, Rob, man. Until next time, you take care, and I'll talk to you soon. All the best.
All right, brother, man. Have a great one. Peace.